Hey, welcome back all. This is Naresh. Hope you are doing good. So in this video, we am going to talk about the Snowflake Iceberg table with glue as a catalog. In the previous two videos, we looked at the Athena Iceberg table. You glue as a catalog, as Athena as a query engine, and data is sitting on AWS S3 bucket. And in the second video, we talked about the data sitting on AWS S3 bucket, and we are using an Snowflake as a catalog as the query engine, and we use an external volume to connect to the S3 bucket. In this video, we are going to see the glue as a catalog instead of the Snowflake. Just see the observation between the managed Snowflake Iceberg table versus the Snowflake Iceberg table with glue as in a catalog. So here the glue AWS glue data catalog as used as in a catalog, and Snowflake is used simply as in a query engine. Means we can query the data that is sitting on the AWS glue, and that is backed by AWS S3, and the Snowflake can access it. So to do this one, what we need to do is in the previous video to Snowflake to access the data that is sitting on AWS S3, you need an external volumes, right? As the same way, for the Snowflake to access the AWS Glue catalog, Snowflake need a integration called the catalog integration. So we will create this catalog integration and we'll configure the Snowflake to read this catalog and then read the Iceberg tables and query it from the Snowflake. So the steps is like this. So are divided as a set of steps. So first step is like we create a bucket. That is where we store our Iceberg data in the Iceberg format, and then we create a role that is glue access because the Snowflake need to access the glue table, right? So Snowflake can access you the AWS resources using only the IAM role, right? So we create an IAM role, and for that IAM role, we will give the glue access policy, and then we create a glue table using Athena. Yeah, so we create a glue table using an Athena, and then we insert some data into the glue table, and we configure the external volumes so that the Snowflake can access the S3 data, and we create a catalog integration that so that Snowflake can access the AWS Glue catalog, and we create a table in the Snowflake that point into the Glue table we created in the step 3, and then we insert some data into the Glue table and access the same data from the Snowflake. That's what we are going to do that one. So this is a very high level thing. So let's go and first create an S3 bucket. So I'm just using the existing S3 bucket. So I have this an S3 bucket, and it has certain folders. Assume that it has the 4 folders, and then I'm going to create an IAM role. So the IAM role name is Snowflake Glue role. It is the same way that you create a role in the while creating an external volume, but it's we are just giving in a glue access to it. So maybe we can. It is the same process like you go and then you. Uh, so you create a role and you mention that AWS account, and then you mention the AWS account, and then you specify the access policy, that is whatever the policy you wanted, and then in the case of this one we just mentioned the Snowflake. So this requires only glue access. So we mentioned glue access, and then you give the name, and then you create that. So this is the role I have already created, and this have an access to the glue policy, and so this will allow any user assuming this role to access the AWS glue, that is glue catalog in my AWS account. So we'll go and then create a table. So I created a database with the Snowflake Iceberg database, and I'm creating a table called Iceberg 3, and let me point it to the location as an Iceberg 3. So I created a table. So the table is get created. So if you go to the here I don't have anything, like it just have an Iceberg 3 folder got created. It will not have anything because data folder is not that big as of now. We just created. So we mentioned as an iceberg table, right? So that is why we had a metadata directory. So let's go and insert some data into this one. So first let's insert the 3 rows into the table. So I just inserted 1 row, and then I'm inserting the other row. I just inserted the 2 rows into this one. So let's try to query this table and see what we are returning. So the query is running and it is returning the two rows. Those are inserted, and when we refresh we should get the data folder. Yeah, we have the data folder, and said that it have this parquet file where the actual data gets stored. So what we have done is we just created a table in the glue, and the table is pointing to the S3 location, this one, and we are able to query it. So now let's get back into the Snowflake, and we will do certain configuration like the catalog integration and volume integration. So once you log into the Snowflake, you need to have to be with an account admin role. So this is so I have created an external volume. This is you have seen in the previous video. I'm just using the same external volumes, and here we are going to create a new catalog integration object. We are naming it as a glue catalog, and here we are mentioning the catalog namespace. Catalog namespace is a glue database name. So here we have the database Snowflake Iceberg DB, right? That's what I mentioned here, and table format is an iceberg, and glue AWS IAM AWS role ARN. So we have created a role, right? This role allow anyone assume this role to access the glue. So that is why we mentioned this the role ARN. And this glue catalog is my AWS account ID, in which AWS account, and glue region. This glue is in the US East 2 region, because my AWS my Snowflake account is in the region of the uh, my Snowflake also in the region of the US East 2 region. So that is why I have to create the table is also in the US East 2 region only. So that's about the creating the glue catalog integration. And then once you have that one, you can do a describe of the glue catalog integration. So when you do this one, it will have the two values. So one is the glue AWS role ARN, this, and sorry, glue AWS IAM. This is the IAM user of the Snowflake account, and this is the external ID. So we will take these two ARN, user ARN and external ID, and we go to the Snowflake AWS, and then we will mention those two values, principal as an ARN, and then external ID that we have it here. So in this one we have the external ID that will start with the BV, ends with the 3A. So that's what we configure, like it starts with the BV and ends with the 3A. So this is the setup we need to do that one. So once you have this one, you have created external volumes, you created catalog integration, and then you describe the catalog integration. So now we can go and create a table that point to the glue table. So that we can create a Snowflake table that point to this table. So that is what we are doing. So here we are creating a create an iceberg table. The table name is my glue table, and then I'm specifying the external volume, because this table need to access the data sitting on the AWS S3. That's why we pointed the external volumes, and then we created the catalog, that catalog integration object that we created in the previous step, and then we are mentioning the table name inside this glue catalog. I'm referring this table, right? So that's what I'm mentioning that. So let me go and do this table. Okay, I mentioned three, right? So let me go and do this table and see what will happen. So I created a table and my table is got created. Let's go and see if we can query the data that is sitting on the glue table. Yes, we are able to read the data that whatever we are seeing in Athena. So now let's do one interesting thing. So let's go and insert some third record into the table, into the glue table from the Athena. So now it's inserted. So let me query this table. So we should have the 3 rows. Yeah, we have the 3 rows now. Let me go and query this table. What will happen? we still get the two records only because the updated record is not reflected into the Snowflake metadata. To do this one, what we have to do is we have to do an alter Iceberg table by glue table as this one. So now it's updated the metadata of the Snowflake. Then when we query it, oh, sorry, I have to mention this one. So let me do this one. Table name is this one. Yeah, it's a glue name. Refresh is completed. Let's see how many. Yeah, it's returning the third row, right? Whatever we inserted. So this way you can have your data in AWS or with any other query engine that will create the data into the AWS S3 bucket and update the metadata information into the glue catalog. And this glue catalog table can be pointed by the Snowflake, and you can use the Snowflake to query this table. So that is what we wanted to do it as part of this glue catalog integration. So we created a table in the glue, and then we inserted some data into the table that created a files in S3 bucket, and then we created an external volume that allow the Snowflake to access the S3 bucket, and we created a catalog integration that will allow Snowflake to access the glue catalog, and then we are able to query the data using the Snowflake that is sitting on the AWS glue catalog that is internally store the data in the Iceberg table format. Hope you like this video. Hope you got some insight of how to do end-to-end setup of uh, Snowflake Iceberg tables, both the internal and external managed catalog tables. Feel free to let me know your comments in the how do you feel about this one. I'll try to come up with a new topic in my next video. Thank you.